Hello, my name is Paul Calf. Hello, obviously I'm not Paul Calf. What you're looking at here is my 1978 Goldwing 1000cc. It's a, well, I just call it a Naked Goldwing. A lot of people call things rat rods or bobbers or cafe racers or whatever, but basically it's just a 1978 Goldwing with all the shit taken off it. So I bought this about 3 months ago off a guy for 650 bucks, and it had bags, it had a fairing, it had the mother of all racks which weighed about 25 pounds, it had floorboards, it had engine bars, it had all sorts of shit all over it. So I just took it all off and sold it, and actually pretty much got my money back on the bike on just selling the stuff on eBay. So I spent about 90 bucks I think on that little pair of silencers, and then I spent another $35 on a seat cover, and that's it. So anyway, like I said, it's a 1978 Goldwing, so this is kind of like the second generation GL100, and I made a few mods to it as well. So you'll notice, well, you won't yet, but you'll see it's only got one front brake caliper because the other one didn't work and the guy had taken it off, so I just kind of left it off. So it certainly doesn't have much in the way of front brake. The fender I bolted on is off a VF 750 Magno, which is just shorter and kind of tucked in, and they look nicer than like soaring down the stock fender. I removed all the shrouds from around the radiator, because basically around the radiator there's these like ears, and then there's all these kind of guards and stuff like that, so I took all that off. And I took the engine bars off, and I took the horns off and stuff. And then I took off the stock pipes and bought these silencers, which were MGO ones, about 95 bucks the pair on eBay, which were pretty good. And then on the back, it actually looks like the stock fender, but it's not. It's actually a fender off a CX500, some flavour CX500. So it sits about 4 inches further forward, so it gives you a kind of more chunky kind of back end. And I really wanted to make a Naked Goldwing, but I really wanted to make it look like squat and just sort of thick and fat. And I've kind of done that. I'm still debating whether to take off that rear light and replace it with something a little bit less hefty. And that, but that's about it really. All did to it. Well, obviously it's got a set of rental bars on it, and then, like I say, just all the other things like floorboards, engine guards, just been taken off. So this is it. The clock says it's done 91,000 miles. The guy who I got it off said that wasn't accurate, it did way more than that. I mean, who knows? They're not the right gauges. Those gauges are off like a 76 or something like that. So it doesn't have the right gauges, and you'll notice that the left front brake caliper is missing. Although, interesting fact, that the brake caliper off a VF1000R will bolt straight on. So if you want to upgrade the brakes on your 78 Goldwing, and maybe the earlier ones, I don't know, but basically you can take the brake calipers off a VF1000R and put them on. So I say I've got one VF1000R caliper that I'm going to put on this side, and then I'm going to replace the master cylinder with a smaller one. It's actually off a YZ250 or something like that. And then there's a few other little odds and ends I'm probably still going to take off it. So it actually runs quite nice. It idles pretty good, and if anybody knows anything about GL1000s, the carbs can be a complete cunt to work on. I mean, they really can, to the point where if you've got a really horrible set of carbs, you're better off sending them off somewhere to get them rebuilt rather than doing it yourself. But say for the most part it runs really well. It's got this funny kind of off idle kind of very small, if you got the throttle open a little bit, kind of stutter, and I think some of that's to do with the pipes, and I think the timing needs to be advanced a tiny bit. It's got electronic ignition on it as well, which is almost a must for these. I mean, if you've got, again, a lumpy idle, electronic ignition will do a whole pile of good for you, and it lives behind a little cover here. You take the points out and it'll plug straight in, and you can get a cheap one or you can get a fancy one. I think they go from anywhere from like 125 to like 300 bucks. And I've no idea which one this has got because I've never taken it off. So, but like I say, it runs really well overall, as much as anything, because it's probably 150 pounds lighter than it was when I got it. These are quite high geared. So what that means is it's got very, very long, very tall gearing, and they're not particularly powerful. I mean, I think the most I've had it up to is about 110. And by that time it was starting to use both sides of of the road, so I laid off a little bit. But I say very long geared. I mean, you know, it's probably similar to a Z-1000 or a GS1000, neither of which I've ridden for a long time. I would guess it probably handles a little bit worse and is a little bit slower than either of those. I can compare it to the Z13, which I ride pretty regularly, and say that it's heavier than the Z. Well, it's about the same as the Z13. It doesn't handle as well, so you know, and also doesn't have as much power. Now, as much as the handling can be, it's down to a couple of things actually. First of all, it's got some Chengshin tyres on it, which certainly aren't brilliant. But secondly, it's got these S&W shocks on the back, and S&W are aftermarket shocks, and I guess in theory they should be okay, but these are actually oversprung and underdamped, so you get this big kind of like, when you go around a corner, it kind of just like wallows and bounces back. It's not very good at all. But like I say, it's a really nice little kind of Naked Goldwing, and there's still some other things saying tend to pull off at the centre stand, maybe the rear light, probably just get rid of the clocks and the whole clock assembly, and just put a single speedometer on with a mileometer that works. And it's interesting because I estimate, because I use this for my work commute, I'm estimating this is doing about 45 to the gallon, which is about as good as you'll get out of a 1000cc Goldwing. You know, you get anywhere between 35 and 45, just depending on how well they're set up and what good a shape the engine's in. So I'll just fire it up here, and it has this kind of nice little kind of meaty kind of growl out of these pipes, and just a general overall good look, really. So you know, it's not particularly warm, but it idles well. It doesn't have a lot of off the throttle. It's kind of okay off the throttle. If you give it a fistful, it doesn't pick up where it should do. And the silence on this side isn't sealed very properly, good English there. And so I need to repack the silent, not repack it, but put a better gasket around the silencer where it goes onto the downpipe. And let's see what else. You know, I've not set the valves on this, and I suspect the valves might be a bit tight. Maybe that's causing I don't know. I'd have to look at it a little bit further. In actual fact, I've had it for about 3 months. I don't recall even checking the oil, let alone changing it. But you know, it's funny because these are getting a little bit more collectible. The earlier one, 75, 76, little bit more collectible than this one. You know, these ones just don't quite have as nice lines. Exhaust system's a bit different on the later ones, and the clocks and some other odds and ends. Bodywork's a bit different. It has this like tank mounted gauges on the dummy tank. But for overall, like I said, it's, you know, it's what, 78, so we're in 2013 or 2012. Whatever it is, and so you know, so basically it's the best part of 35 years old, which is you know, I guess it's now as a vintage bike, and it's certainly not one of the bikes that really put the nail in the coffin of the British bike industry. You know, that was more obviously the 754 and the Z1, but it's something that, you know, that when it came out there really wasn't much anything else like this, and opened up a whole world of sport touring here in the United States. And this bike is great for the United States because long lazy roads, honestly it does, you know, going along at 80 mile an hour on this is really quite a lot of fun. So like I say, overall a very you know, heavy, slow, pushy, hard bike to ride, but not unpleasant, you know. And it does, and it's with those pipes, it's loud, but not like Harley open pipe cringingly loud. And it's got that nice idle, and say if you don't give it too much throttle, it responds. You say it's quite quiet. So I must be getting sentimental in my old age, because a lot of Goldwings go through my garage every year, and this is the only one I've kept. So this is a Goldwing, like I said, with pretty much everything taken off it. If you look at one of my other videos, which I haven't made yet, but I'm going to do it this afternoon and post it, you will see another Goldwing that is completely opposite, that has had everything put on it, including the mother of all sidecars. So anyway, I mean, if you're going to buy one of these, just a couple of pointers really. You know, carbs Carbs are really the Achilles heels of these. You know, you see some people have a single carb set on them or put GL100 carbs on them, but for the most part GL1000 carbs work the best. And if you're not sure and it runs rough, you can send them off and get them rebuilt for about $400, which is a chunk of change, but they're going to come back, they're going to come up running well and balanced. Slap electronic ignition on it and then off you go. I mean, the other thing to make sure is the charging system works, because the alternator sits behind here, and if it goes out, it's an engine out job. But again, you know, on the GL1000s, that's not as bad as it is on like the 1200. So anyway, my Naked Wing, and I like I say, I'll keep hold of this one for a little bit until I get bored. But for the most part, I say it runs really nice. It's pleasant to ride, and occasionally people, you know, see and say, hey, that, you know, it's pretty cool, because, you know, there's a lot of there's an awful lot of Naked Wings. You go to nakedwing.com or just look at Google Images, and there's an awful lot of Naked Wings out there. But honestly, I think a load of them look like shit. You know, people have these enormous seats with huge back ends on them, and these enormous horrible pipes and some horrible gaudy paint scheme, and it just kind of, it doesn't add to it. It just takes away and makes them look horrible. Whereas this, this just looks like something chunky. And if I do anything, I'd like to replace the shocks with something about an inch shorter, just to drop the back end down, and then just drop the forks in the yoke an inch and a half to make it sit even lower and look a little bit kind of meaner. So like I said, I'll leave you with a parting shot of this, and we'll just fire it up again. Just hear that lovely little idle out of those pipes. And the pipes aren't quite open pipes, but they don't have a lot of baffle, the same as my mate Neil had on his XS650 in about 1989, 88, somewhere around there. But I say they're a bit loud, but they're not super duper offensively loud. Well, obviously in England, you know, you're never going to pass your MOT with something like that. So anyway, we just so there you go, 1978 Naked Goldwing. And like I say, take a look at one of my other videos, which I'll be posting soon, which is just about as an unnaked Goldwing as you could possibly get. Alright, see you later, bye.